Hi, I'm Katie, and this is the 8th episode of Ornamentations, which will be a smalls parade across a range of techniques ranging from surface embroidery to cross stitch. I have some special finishes that I would like to share to you today. I also have a larger, totally not small finish. This is my co-host for this episode. His name is Archibald, and I finished him this week. He's a kit from the Cheswick company. I'll link it in the description below. The name of the kit is Frost, but I ordered him without realizing just how large he was going to be, which is not the Cheswick company's fault. They did have the kit clearly labeled. I just apparently can't read and breezed past that entirely. I saw the really cute bottle brush tree and the adorable snowman, and I thought he was going to be like, tabletop size, and instead he's like 20 inches tall. He is huge. It took me 1.5 pounds of wool roving to stuff this guy, but he's adorable even if he is enormous. I was thinking that once I put my holiday decorations up, I always decorate the first week of November because I use a real tree, and if you do it too early, it dies before Christmas. So once I have that up, I thought I would stand him up next to the tree on the tree skirt, and he can be the guardian of the presents because, he's too out of scale to do anything else. Also, he's very large and intimidating. I think he'd make a great guardian for the presents. So say hi to Archibald, everybody. He's here for one episode only because by the time I see you again, I will have done my Christmas decorating and he's got to guard the presents. So one-time appearance. Speaking of holiday decorating, I have my first ornament tutorial up, which a lot of you I think have already seen. It features my finish of Blackbird's Snow Garden and teaches you how to finish the ornament from, any ornament, from start to finish and get this lovely beaded edge. So this is the one I used for the tutorial. This is an earlier finish, and you can see how you can get two totally different looks depending on whether you want a stiffer finish like I did here or a softer, more padded finish, and then also what you use for your beads and your lacing threads. So check it out and let me know what you think about the idea of tutorials generally, because I was also thinking I might do one for this style of ornament, which is one of my motifs from Forget Me Not, stitched as an individual Christmas ornament, and that might be kind of fun. Let me know what you think. Do you want to see tutorials, or are we all totally covered by Vanna, whose admittedly finishing tutorials are unsurpassed? The other thing I want to get to before we start on smalls is maybe he doesn't like co-hosting. He doesn't quite want to stand up. Anyways, this Simple Harmony stitch along, I am so excited that so many of you want to do the stitch along with me, that you're really looking forward to starting, and I know that there have been some issues with getting goblins. The shops have been telling you all that the thread is on back order. The silk is here in the United States. It was just unable to be spooled because of pandemic, supply chain issues, strike again. There were no large spools in the US, and thankfully the order has just come in. Silk should be making its way out to shops as soon as they clear the backlog. So if you've ordered goblins and been told it's on back order, it should be on its way to you very soon, and you should be able to make a start on the Simple Harmony box. So fingers crossed on that one. Also, I would like to note that this is not a stitch along with rules. There's no start date, there's no end date. Everybody should work at their own pace. I know that working an embroidered box for the first time can be, quite a big job. It took me multiple years to get through all the stitching and finishing on my first embroidered box because I was actually so afraid of the finishing is why. However, that's why you have me and the tutorials, which I hope will help you through the process without the years of agonizing hand-wringing over glue. So that should hopefully make it easier for you. The only rules for this stitch along are that you have to use Modern Folk Embroidery's Forget-Me-Not for the pattern, the linked box from Amazon in the materials list, so that the pattern fits correctly on the box, and you have to use the Legacy Linen 37 count Russian tea cake as your ground. Again, those three are all fit issues, which is why they can't be changed, but anything else, stitch at your own pace, change the thread, change your accent color, change your trim, take as long as you want. The tutorials will be staying up and not coming down because I'm hoping they can be a valuable reference to you in the future if you decide that you are into the world of embroidered boxes and you'd like to stitch one of your own design or adaptation. The tutorials are of course geared towards simple harmony, but they are applicable to really any type of embroidered box. So they'll be staying up as a reference. There's no end date to the stitch along. And with that, the Smalls Parade, or rather installment 2 of the Smalls Parade, which I have decided will be a regular series here because I really love smalls. I was doing another posy variation this week. I didn't actually finish it, so it won't be featuring today, but we'll be revisiting this regularly because I love doing smalls. They just allow you to have fun. You know, you can just play with a technique or a new type of thread without committing your time or your resources to it in the way that you might with a major project. So it's a really fun little thing to do, and it's also can feel great to just knock out a quick finish once in a while. So I really love that. I think that's maybe one of the reasons why I love holiday stitching so much. All those little ornaments, you just whip through them, do the finishing, hang them on the tree. It is great. But my smalls for today. So the first one I have for you, oh, he's listening again. And there he goes. I don't think I put enough weight in the bottom of Archibald because he's not really liking hanging out where he is. I'm not sure what's up with that. We'll have to ask him what he thinks. But back to smalls, assuming Archibald doesn't decide to go for a walk again. So the first two are a set, and these are actually the first needlework smalls that weren't ornaments that I ever did myself. These are the winter casket keepsakes from Amy Mitten. If you watched my first Smalls Parade in episode 3, you'll have seen the spring and fall keepsakes that I made, and these are winter, which of course is seasonally appropriate for today's episode. The first one is just a little pin keep. It's got a needle lace flaming heart on the front. The shape is that of a bellows on this elaborate, lovely laced side. And then the back shows logs on the fire, and then it's got little gold scallop trim that is just beautiful. But what I really loved working this was this fabulous needle lace heart. This was the first time I had ever done any work at all with needle lace or with gilt threads, and this was a wonderful introduction to it. I said this in the 3rd episode, but really Amy Mitten's kits are absolutely terrific. If you're thinking of just kind of dipping a toe into the world of surface embroidery, I can't recommend her enough. The instructions are just incredibly detailed, and even if you're totally new to it like I was, you'll be able to complete the project and have a finish that you're happy with. So actually both of the winter casket keepsakes are in the shape of little bellows, which was a very common casket toy form from the 17th century. There were a great number of little casket toys in the shape of bellows. They were sometimes marked as perfume holders, as if you would like spray this thing I'm not sure if that's actually accurate or if that's just a misconception that's survived through the centuries. I'm certain that Trisha covered that in the Cabinet of Curiosities course, but it's been a while since I read that lesson. So here we've got the flat bellows shaped pinky, and then the second of the winter casket keepsakes was a little bellows purse with fabulous little ties that you make yourself as part of the kit. And then it holds a little thread winder. I'm not going to open this up because it's been a while and it's a little stiff right now. But the front is this, I mean, isn't that just beautiful? The gold thread and the rich colors. I just couldn't get enough of this piece when I worked it. It was just, you know, sometimes you're stitching and things are coming together under your hands and you're just in love with what you're doing and just think that it's beautiful, the materials are beautiful, the project is beautiful. And that's really what I felt working this project. This just fabulous reflective gold with the rich colors was such a fun, satisfying little project. I mean, look at the gleam of that gold. There's really no substitute for real metal threads. They are extraordinary. And then the bottom and the top are needle lace over a gilt return, so they have a little subtle sparkle to them. And then the back is also needle lace over a gilt return in the same colorway as the front, and over a gilt return, as you can see here, the very subtle sparkle there. But you get a very different effect given the different arrangement and concentration of colors. It's kind of a neat, tiny little color study in just this very small, satisfying little objects. So these are the two winter casket keepsakes that I made as my very first smalls and some of my very first things in surface embroidery, in which I loved these projects. Unfortunately, the casket keepsakes, the Seasons ones, are no longer available, but she has a wonderful series called The Queen's Attire, which I will link to below. If, like I said, if you're interested in starting out with surface embroidery, she would be a wonderful place to start because her projects are incredibly clever, beautifully kitted, and the instructions are just superb. So my third surface embroidery small that I have for you today is a project of my own design and stitching. This was a little further on in my stitching journey when I was feeling a little more comfortable with metal threads. That took me a while, to be quite honest. The first time I tried using some of the threads on this project, I almost cried. I might have actually cried. I don't think I actually cried, but I really wanted to. So this is a little needle book in the 17th century Flemish style, which is, again, something that's covered in the Cabinet of Curiosities course. That was my initial introduction to this style of embroidery. There was this wonderful, very brief period of cabinets with embroidered panels inside them made by professional Flemish embroiderers in the 17th century that featured these kind of wonderful scrolling styles with fruits and flowers and birds and lots of metal work. They were a great object lesson in professional versus amateur embroidery because they featured expensive materials but not in time. The techniques were all very efficient compared to what you would see in the more amateur pieces. So this is inspired by a 17th century English amateur piece of embroidery where the investment here is really of time. Needle lace is not the fastest technique in the world, whereas the largely couching techniques that you saw on the Flemish professional work was much more efficient in terms of time. So I devised a scrolling style panel featuring my initials front and back, and then I later finished this as just a little needle book. This actually wasn't originally designed to be a needle book. These were supposed to be interior panels in a box, and the finishing was supposed to be glued. But at that point, I stitched this in 2016, I think. Well, I stitched 90% of it in 2016. I left off the initials inside the little hearts for, I think, 3 years, because if I got it all the way, the stitching completely finished, then I'd have to confront the actual finishing work, and I was still really a total chicken about it at that time. I'm not gonna lie, I was still terrified of glue, I was terrified of finishing, and so I actually, when I went to finally do the finishing here, I abandoned my idea of making glued panels, and I mounted these on little pieces of parchment paper and felt, and then just wrapped the edges over and stitched them down. And it actually made for quite a smooth finish, because I didn't work these in a hoop. I worked them laced on reinforced stretcher bars. Proper tension is the easiest thing you can do to improve your stitching if you don't like what you're doing. So notes on the materials, because you may not have seen them before. The wonderful thread in the center of the scrolls is something called Gilt Bright Check, which we'll see again because it is one of my favorite materials. It is just so fabulously sparkly. And then it's surrounded with a very thin special thread that featured in Trisha's special edition materials boxes, which she calls the Frostings Club. Is that a great name or what? It is number 8S check, which unfortunately is no longer available. I love it because it's sparkly, it's flexible, it's really easy to use, and it's just fabulous. It's edging all the little flower motifs, the leaves, these tiny scrolls, and the blue flower at the top. And then the third type of metal thread, which is here on the outside and then in the inner edge of the heart, both front and back, is something called Gilt Miliary, and it has this fantastic texture to it, but it's wonderfully easy to use. So this is my Flemish inspired needle book, which I love. This is very typical of what you could call my style as an embroiderer. There's lots of metal thread, there's green, there's flowers. This is very much where I found myself headed in, the years after starting Cabinet of Curiosities, as I was exploring my style and finding out, what I liked and what I wanted to do. So this was a really satisfying little finish. I actually don't use it as a needle book because I'm terrible about storing my needles. I just have little bits of felt. I stick needles for the project I'm working in them, and I just throw them on the couch. I am absolutely shocking in how careless I am with my needles. And then we're going to get to my less elaborate, more recent smalls, because my mother has a landmark birthday coming up. I am actually filming this Flosstube early so that I can show you her gifts without spoiling the surprise, because she always watches my Flosstubes. Hi, Mom. And then I'll upload it on my regular day, Tuesday, so that in between I can give her her presents and the surprise won't be spoiled. So my theme for the birthday, I actually did a theme, I can't believe it, it's so cheesy, is a very stitchy 70, because my mom is turning 70 years old, and I thought, what more appropriate for the woman who taught me to sew then a set of stitching themed gifts. So the first is a pair of Dovo storks because she uses embroidery scissors that aren't quite up to snuff. She needs some Dovos. Everybody needs Dovos in her life. I bought these several months ago at Needle in a Haystack. At the time, they did still have Dovos in stock. Not sure if they're sold out. You can always call and ask if you are on the hunt for a pair yourself. So Mom's first gift is a pair of Dovo storks for her very stitchy 70. Can't even believe I'm saying that, but sorry, Mom, I embraced the cheese. And then the second gift is a chart by Brenda Gervais, which is her favorite cross-stitch designer. Burr, It's Cold Outside, with linen to work it on. This is Legacy Linen 38 count Fuller's Teasel, which I have been using a lot for holiday stitching lately, and I just love. I got this from Needle in a Haystack, and they were so fast with the shipping. My mom has done a number of Brenda Gervais seasonal pieces in this style, which she finishes usually as wall hangings, occasionally as pillows, but she doesn't have this one, which I just thought was so cute and which I think she'll love. And then the third one is another chart, and this is really just to make her laugh because it's Lucy Beam's Love and Stitches, I Will Find You. I don't know who used my fabric scissors, but I will find you, because this is basically the entire story of my childhood. I was a really crafty little child. I was also a serial starter. I invariably had like 20 projects on the go at once, and I was always hopping around between them. I'd pick up one thing and then I decided I need to do another thing, and then I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take my dolls on a tour of the world, or play with them like they're touring around the world, and they need new outfits, so I'm gonna make them for them. And I was always picking things up, putting them down, and running off with my mom's good fabric scissors, which she kept in her sewing room, but because I always had stuff in progress all over the house, I would pick them up and run off with them, and then she would invariably come looking for them. Oh, Katie, have you seen my fabric scissors? And if they were in my hand at that point, I would hand them over. But frequently, I don't think Archibald likes this story. No, Archibald, too bad. I don't care. I'm telling the story. He has a lot of opinions. Anyway. I've lost my train of thought. You are a nuisance, God. So, yes, I would hand over the scissors if I had them in my hand at the exact moment when she asked me, but most of the time I would have just set them down because I had been using them, but my little serial starter brain had hopped over to another project, so I would have set down her scissors in a corner of the room. She would come looking for them, and I would quite innocently be like, oh no, I don't have your scissors. And then she'd be like, oh, they must be in my sewing room. Go off to look for them. And then I would look over at the project I had just abandoned and be like, oh, I do have your fabric scissors. So, Mom, I hope this makes you laugh. I am very sorry that I always made off with your scissors as a child. It wasn't intentional, I was an odd little child. So, and then continuing with stories about my childhood and the guys in my mother's birthday gifts, my next gift for my mom, I realize that this is a lot for her birthday, but it's a landmark birthday, and I had ideas, and I just went a little nuts. So lots of birthday gifts for Mom this year. Went a little wild. You're not getting this much stuff for Christmas. I think I might have, outdone myself. My next gift is another Cheswick company, and this is Springtime Sewing Companions. And this is my finish. I stitched the little mouse holding a little strawberry, not filled with emery, just filled with wool roving, and on little tufted pin cushions of this. Oh my God, can you see how absolutely fabulously luminous that velvet is? And then this is actually an extra scrap of the red Duchess silk satin that was the lining for the Simple Harmony box. And mice and sewing again. Lots of stories from Katie's childhood today. Sorry, I'm sure I'm boring you. So my brother, well, this is a secret, as Brenda and Laura have done sometimes. This is between us. Don't tell anyone. He would be mortified if he knew I was telling everybody this, but he doesn't watch my Flosstube, so he doesn't have to know. And I know you're not going to tell him because, you know, we're all friends here and you can keep a secret, right? So his childhood nickname was Mouse, Mousy, Mousin. All variations of mouse, obviously, because when he was just a little tiny kid, he had this gray sweatpants and sweatshirt that he just would not take off. He called them his mouse furs, and he would make squeaky noises. He was the cutest kid in the world. He was an incredibly annoying little brother. I love him as an adult, but yeah, as a kid, he was perpetually underfoot in the sewing room in his mouse fur, making little squeaky noises and interrupting whatever I was doing at the time. So ever since then, we've had a very soft spot for anything featuring cute little mice because of his long ago nickname. We don't still call him that, but the number of festive mice in both my house and my parents' house would suggest that nobody has forgotten that. So her little stitchy mouse pincushion is the second to last gift. We're almost getting to the end of the little parade of Katie's gifts for her mom's birthday. And then the last one is my finish of, again, Brenda Gervais, her favorite designers, mice in the sewing room, because we did have a mouse perpetually underfoot in her sewing room when I was growing up. Lots of nostalgia in Mom's gifts this year. Sorry, Mom. Very sentimental. And so this is my stitch. I left off the little tape measure at the bottom because of how I wanted to finish this, and then I finished this as just a little pillow. I used reverse applique to put it in, and then this is the same red silk shantung that I use in my ornament finishing for the Quaker medallions. I actually think it turned out pretty well. This is the first time I've ever done reverse applique, but it is not too bad. It's pulling a little bit at the corners. I did it by hand, and turning and stuffing it, and the stress put on it by machine stitching, turning and stuffing did really stress out the hand slip stitches I used to put in the stitching. But I think when, as long as you're not looking at it too closely, like getting close up on a high definition camera on Flosstube, and you put it with, her little mice set, I think it's pretty cute. I'm a fan. I'm pretty satisfied. I think she'll like these. I hope so. But that is my mom's very stitchy 70. I hope she's gonna have a wonderful birthday. I made her favorite dark chocolate pie for our little family party, which is tomorrow, and it should be fun. I think at the very least she'll have a laugh when she opens her presents. So that's our little smalls parade for today. I do have way more fancy needlework smalls to show you in upcoming installments of the smalls parade. But I thought today, since there was so much to talk about and I had all of my little stitchy gifts to show, that I would keep that limited, and we will revisit that again because I have new posies to show. I haven't shown all of the other smalls I've done over the years. So yes, look out in the future for part 3 of the smalls parade. But for next time, we're gonna do holiday stitching, I think, because I'm doing a lot of it. I've got stuff in progress. My mom and I are doing a mother-daughter stitch of blackbirds early Christmas morning because we're the last 2 people on the planet who haven't done it yet. And I have been doing a little shopping. I watched Brenda and Laura last weekend, as I think a lot of you did. We have a lot of new subscribers. Thank you, welcome. And I think that's largely due to the outrageously nice things that they said about me. Wow. But I was watching them, and Brenda was holding up her purchases from the felt pod, and I had to stop the video and run straight to Etsy before these were all sold out. So I bought peppermints and some of the little gingerbread men, and I am really feeling the holiday spirit and the holiday stitching. So I think that will be the next episode. And I wanted to ask you actually if you have any interest in a little extra that would be a tour of my holiday decorations, because I go totally nuts with Christmas crafting, and my tree is almost all homemade stitchy decorations. So if you'd like to see that, let me know. I mean, maybe you don't want to see all my weirdo crafting. A lot of it is embellished wool applique. I have a lot of fun with that at Christmas. I go crazy with beads. This is going to be on one of the finishes. I hope to show you next time how awesome and sparkly is that. You can make a plain twist to finish off your ornaments, or you can make a beaded spiral rope stitch. I've got a few variations on this that I've been having a lot of fun with. And before I forget, I almost forgot, giveaway winners. So from the last episode, I had 3 giveaways, which were the wood box for the Simple Harmony Stitch Along, the half yard of Russian tea cake needed to stitch the box, and 3 spools of Goblin's 779, which was the red that I used to stitch, but can also be used for ornaments. This was stitched with Goblin's 779 on 40 count Piccadilly. So multi-purpose thread. And our winners for the box, code keyword wood, is Jennifer King. For all of these, I have commented on your comments. Please contact me and send me your address, and I will get these in the mail to you. The winner of tea, the half yard of Russian tea cake, is Melissa Ellis. And the winner for red, the 3 spools of Swa Goblin 779, is Angel Van Note. So all of you, congratulations. Please contact me. I will get these into the mail to you as soon as possible, because I would really like to beat the holiday rush at the postal office. So postal office, post office, postal service. Okay. Yeah, great day. And I think that's probably my cue to stop talking, because I have babbled on long enough. But I'm really excited about holiday stitching and holiday finishing. So that will be what we're looking at in the next episode, which will be in 2 weeks. Until then, tutorial every Tuesday. This week will be the first tutorial on papering the Simple Harmony box to prepare it for finishing. So check that out if you are doing the Simple Harmony Stitch Along, if you're interested in an embroidered box, or if you're even just thinking about it. It is totally fine to hang back, see what the project entails, and then decide later if this is something that you want to do. No judgment here, we are all friends. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I hope you're looking forward to holiday stitching as much as I am, because I'm having so much fun with it. And until then, happy stitching.